So very welcome to Bioeconomy Breakfast Seminars. My name is Pia Wagberg and I'm the moderator today. And behind the technology and all of the keeping things in order is Helena Halonen, who is my colleague at RISE. So we are doing this breakfast seminar together. And we are very happy to see such a big interest in the seminar this morning and are very eager to start. And we have, as usual, two presentations, one from RISE and one from a company that we are participating with, or a partner of some sort. So you will you will listen to on the topic of biomass conversion. You will listen to two perspectives. And the first one being presented by Francois Lambert. I hope I presented that correctly. Francois is actually a Frenchman based in Sundsvall, Sweden, since 20 years back, and he's working at Valmet. There he serves as a manager in technology, biomass conversion. And Francois has been working in this field from pilot scale to all the way up to full-scale implementation worldwide. So it will be very interesting to listen to your presentation. And I would just like to urge everybody in the seminar to pose all the questions in the chat forum, and we will try to pick them up after both Francois and Anneli has given their presentation. So we'll take that at the end of the breakfast seminar. So first out, Francois, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. I will share my screen now. I think you can see it now. Pia, can you see?
Yes, it looks
yes, good.
Very
then I can start. Thank you. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Pia, for this short introduction, and RISE for letting me sharing our experience. So, as you say, my name is Francois Lambert, and I'm working at Valmet in Sundsvall with project related to biomass conversions. And I have a pleasure today to talk about scaling up in biomass conversions, and especially on opportunities and challenge that we can meet and that everybody can meet in this area. So I will first say some few words on what we are doing in our area at Valmet, and then continue to the main topics of my presentations, opportunities and challenge, and finally a short summary. In biomass conversions, we work mainly with three tracks. The two first ones are second generations ethanol and biochemicals, where we focus mainly on pretreatment. And the third one is black pellet, where we can deliver end-to-end solutions from biomass to final product. I will not go in details in the process difference between these these areas, but I just want to outline some differences on how we work in this area. In bioethanols and biochemicals, we collaborate with technology providers. We have developed on scale up their own process from R&D phase to full scale, and we deliver part of the technical solutions to fit and implement their process. On the opposite, for black pellets, we can propose on hand-to-end solutions, and we can act in most cases as process supplier and equipment supplier from login feed to final delivery. And in both cases, we have developed our technology from what we use within pulping on fiberboard. And we have a long experience of pretreatment of biomass, and with more than 100 years actually, and already in the 20s, Arne Asplund work with William Masson, who developed steam explosions and steam gun. And Arne Asplund developed further the technology for fiberboard and mechanical pulping. So for wood-based applications, we have hundreds of reference actually in pulping, mechanical pulping, fiberboard, and so on. But a part of Valmet, which is perhaps less known and has been very variable for us, is our background in non-wood pulping. Here you can see a non-wood pulping line. With this, I mean pulp production from straw, from bagasse, from agro residues. And we're actually world leader with more than 50 references. It gave us a good insight on challenges with this type of material, and which was perhaps not known by everybody. And since about 2010, we have a reference list of more than 15, 20 systems. We have even other and older references that from the 80s and even earlier. And as you can see, our strategy has been to grow slowly and together with your customer to mitigate risk and secure quality. So the list of delivery here range from pilot scale and demo scale, and now commercial scale systems that are under delivery. And this strategy was strongly related to the challenges, but also the opportunities we identified in this area. And all this development that was done the last 10 years, but also the last 50 years, I would say, resulted in 2018 in our two first full-scale references. The first one is a bioethanol mill in Romania, whereas the second one is a steam explosion system for black pellets. And these two differences are typical example of a scale-up that has been done by Valmet, by our partners, and by our customer. And it's a long trip, and we saw a lot of opportunity and challenge in this. So for Valmet, bioapplications opens, of course, new opportunities, but we have also identified challenges. So it's perhaps the challenges that open the opportunities for Valmet, as we can give an added value to our customer and to the project. And when talking about scale up of new research, the focus is often put on technical challenges, but there are also other type of challenge that can be important to handle, and I will start with this other type of challenge. The first one we identify is cultural challenge, and Valmet is a global company. We're used to work in a global market, and we have Valmet people all around the world who support us and help us in all the countries we are working. But for some companies, this can be more difficult to work internationally. One thing that complicates the game is that you have much more stakeholders involved in these projects. Another characteristic of this emerging business is that it involves different type of actors. I listed some of the slide. Go from oil industry, chemical industry, forest company. Different type of company also can be state-owned or public company, startup, risk capital, or small family-owned company. And it is perhaps quite easy to understand that there is differences between an oil company and a startup. If you add that they come from different parts of the world, it make it more complicated, or at least different compared to conventional business in pulp and paper. Different ways of working, different requirements. And it's important to have a flexible organization, so to have a certain agility there. So it's the reason why also Valmet quite early in 10 years ago, decided to create an own dedicated organizations to be able to work in this area. Other challenge and opportunities also that is the commercializations of the technology. This is an emerging business with new value chains being created, often during the development and the upscaling, and it brings a number of questions to be answered. For Valmet, what should be our role in the value chains, as it differs completely to what we are used to in pulp and paper? How do we create most value? How do we do business together with our partner and with the customer and the end user? And how do we execute project together? And in this business, we are meeting our old well-known customer, but also a lot of new customer, what we have no history together. And it is important to make it work, to get to know each other and to understand our respective role on how to do business together. Another characteristic of bioethanol is that it's often there is often three parts involved in the project: the customer, final customer, the technology provider, and machine supplier, equipment supplier. In our case, it's Valmet. And it differs quite a lot from the conventional pulp and paper industry, where there is no separate technology supplier. And the role are different. The technology provider will focus on its process, on how it integrates with other part of the process, and where the machine supplier will focus on technical solutions that feed the process. However, we have also a large process experience, and there is a growth area here also. And at the end of the day, what is important is how risk and warranty can be handled. If the process is not working, the customer will have a very nice equipment in the mill, but no process to run. It seems perhaps like a simple problem, but a lot of technology providers in the world are very small companies. And it's not very simple for them to handle this type of risk. Not all the technology providers have the economical strength to take a risk. And this can be a huge challenge if there is no support for small companies to commercialize their technology. What is important and can be a way to solve this problem is that all the stakeholders in the project have a good cooperation and are aware of the premises early in the project. You have, of course, big company that are technology provider and that can't take the risk and the responsibility, then it's much more easier also. Of course, in upscaling, there is a lot of technical challenges, and it's always what we focus on. And in our case, raw materials are often annual plant, residual products, and so on. It's not so clean. It's not easy to handle. Bulky material, high sand content, difficult to feed. And the pretreatment also is quite tough. It's high temperature and pressure, low pH, and it affects on our system must be designed to work during this whole of lifetime. So equipment needs also to be developed and adapted. It's what we are working at Valmet with our BioTrack pretreatment system that you can see here on the right. However, equipment is not the first things people are thinking about when they develop and scale up a new process. Suppliers are often involved in the late phase of the project. It's perhaps not necessary in the early R&D phase, but as soon as the developer starts to think about applications, they should have a parallel process on how they will scale up their process. They should secure that equipment exists or are easy to adapt. Optimization of process at small scale or pilot scale is often done with focus on yield and product properties, mass and energy balance, not on implementations at full scale, not so often equipment design or integrations with other equipment. So this could be a challenge also if it is addressed too late. What we can also see is that focus is put on what people think is most important, or perhaps on what people think is most interesting. And what we hear often is the word non-technology for what is outside the core process. At this stage, I think when speaking about non-technology, it's important to consider if it is really non-technology, or if this technology also needs to be adapted, upscaled, based on new premises, new materials. And an aspect also is that machine development is time consuming. And so I think it's important to have contact with supply in an early stage to check if there is existing equipment that can be used or can be adapted in an easy way. An example of our upscaling of feeding of straw or non-wood agrofiber to a reactor. To feed straw in a digester is considered to be a non-technology for non-wood pulping. But there are also differences between non-wood pulping and ethanol. On ethanol mill has a production that can be up to 3-4 times the productions of non-wood pulping line. And the pressure in the reactor is much higher. And if you do it in the wrong way, there is a big risk for blowback also. The technology is however quite similar to what is used in mechanical pulping of fiberboard, for example. It's plug screw feeder based feeding. But there are few actors that knows actually how to feed straw on bagasse in a proper way. And as a global actor, Valmet is the main actor in this area. If you look backwards, you can see that feeding has been one of the issues for some of the first delivery. It has often been based on design, on the things that perhaps not ready, but often considered as non-technology. And with our background in non-wood pulping, so we had a broad experience of handling bulky materials of existing challenges. So 15-20 years ago, in the middle of the 2000s, we started to develop new technology to develop feeding of agro residues. We went through several steps, piloting atom fiber technology in the center, delivery of a small pilot between 100 and 500 kilograms in 10 years ago about, on a demo with 3-4 tons per hour in 2015. And now we are currently delivering our full-scale system now, 20-30 tons per hour about. And what has been important in our scale-up is our collaboration with customers and partners and the possibility to work with them, the possibility to do trials in our pilot and to test our equipment. We are during the scale-up process had the possibility to validate the technology, on the other hand, to propose a solution which is robust and safe. And we have done the same thing for our equipment. For example, here we have adapted our agro-pulping reactor to pretreatment process. You can see here our smaller pilot. You see a typical Swedish guy, 1 meter 80 centimeter. So these two pilots were delivered in between 2011 and 2013. And after we have been scaling up to higher size to demo plant, and now we are delivering this pilot still with this typical Swedish guys here. That is about 14 meter and 2.5 meter diameter. 14 meter long or 2.5 meter diameter. That is used in our first scale delivery. So we have been doing exactly the same work to de-risk and have something that is adapted to this new process. As I said earlier, an important step in scaling up a process is to validate the technology at an adequate capacity level. And with an equipment, a technology which is scalable also, it's easy to do in a pilot to make it work, but you need to be able to make it work at full scale also. And it can be done in a different way. It can be it can be possible to do some pilot trials to verify the technology. But at our technology center, for example, there is we can have our own pilot, and there is also open plant, depending on what you need to test. And a demo plant also can be necessary to verify performance and runnability on the long run to see what happens when you run 1-2 months in a row. And you need to validate each step, but also how the whole process is integrated. It's often that optimizations is made step by step, but not based on the whole process runnability and integration. And it's important not to underestimate the development need for scaling up a process. If it's not done in a good way, in the worst case, you can need to change the process until start very ready from start. It's perhaps not as important when doing some minor change in a pulp mill as it's often possible to do mill trial. But when it comes to emerging technology with high capex, it's very important to de-risk the technology as much as possible. To summarize, there are some critical aspects in scaling up new technology. As named at the beginning, commercializations, business model, and risk handling are very important. On risk handling, it's both technical risk and business risk, project risk also. It's important to validate the technology with relevant equipment. And upscaling should also already be included in early on. You should try to involve supplier, even if it's not always easy to involve all the suppliers. And at the end, the goal is to decrease the risk, both of the technology, but also for the project and the business. You want to have a mill that runs. Opportunity and challenge comes together, and if challenge gives you a possibility to come with an added value in the project, it will automatically open opportunities. It's also what guided our strategy within biomass conversions for the last 10 years on how we have organized ourselves. And through our collaborations with partner and customer and parallel development of the technology, our technical readiness for full scale is good in this area. We have also built a known technology unit in Valmet to be able to serve this new area. And Valmet Biomass Conversions Technology Unit. And this make the possibility to work in an agile way with our customer, but at the same time we can use the whole Valmet to support the project. And we have a strong project organizations within Valmet that make possible also this project. And this was my last slide, so I would like to thank you for your attention, and I will leave the words back to Pia.
Thank you very much, Francois. That was a very, very interesting presentation. And I really hope that you all in this breakfast seminar are sure to put up your questions in the chat, as Helena urged you to do earlier, because we'll take them all at the end of this seminar. So thank you very much, Francois, and we'll just directly swap over to Anneli, who is Anneli Sundman, who is a senior researcher at RISE Processum, and she's based in Örnsköldsvik. For those of you that are based abroad, you might not know that that is a very northern part of Sweden, even more northern than Sundsvall, where Francois is based. And she serves as a technical scientific leader for the consortium of flexible biorefining, which is a part of the research program that is right now is right now in the process of kicking off at RISE Bioeconomy, or RISE, I would say. Isn't that right, Anneli?
That's right.
Yeah, so the floor is yours. We're looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you. So let's consider the same topic, but from a research institute perspective. So this brings us to our role. So we want to be an international leading innovation partner, which contribute to a competitive industry and to a sustainable society. As a research institute, we do not normally implement new processes or products ourselves. Our core business is applied research, and the key is collaboration. So we work together in public funded projects like research and innovation actions, or even demonstration projects. But we also have direct assignments with companies. We have good examples where we have acted as R&D support for the verification of a process, and thereafter as a support for the further development of their technologies and processes. So how do we work with biomass conversion then? I have already stressed the importance of collaboration. So we try to keep a close relation with the industry For example, we have a dialogue with the member companies at Processum and with Forskningsstyrelsen, or the research board for Invensia. We are also part of the accelerator program, Forest Business Accelerator, where promising startups are selected and get a platform for accelerated development. So this is a collaboration between SCA, IBM, Processum, and BizMaker. And here, the selected startups, they are given access to field experts, advanced technical platforms, valuable networks, and new collaboration opportunities. And all kinds of forestry innovations are of interest. It could, for instance, be about increasing the value of residual products. It could be about water purification methods or sustainable chemicals. I have included a link here, which you can have a look at if you want to find out more about this. The R&D Council at Rice Processum is another form for how we work with biomass conversion, among other subjects which belong to biorefinery development. So the R&D Council, it aims at developing knowledge and catalyze the biorefinery development within the region. So proposed activities, they comprise sub-projects to the project Innovation Platform Biorefinery Acceleration to Commercialization. So this is funded by RISE, by the European Union Development Fund, the regions Västernorrland, Västerbotten, and the municipalities Örnsköldsvik, Sundsvall, and Umeå. So it supports new ideas for products and processes within the field of biorefinery. So we also support activities for testing and evaluating the prerequisites for continued work towards upscaling and commercialization. If you want to find out more about the Research Council, you can have a look at either the English or Swedish webpage for the R&D Council. The next deadline for sending in suggestions about activities which you think should be part of this is September 14th. Industrial, international, innovative, and independent. They are 4 words describing the Bioeconomy Research Program. So the mission of the Bioeconomy Research Program is to generate sustainable competitiveness via industrial research on resource efficiency and value-adding processes. So the current research program, it comprises 38 companies situated in 12 different countries and has a turnover of 21 million euro. Wood and agro-biorefinery comprise one of the main areas for the upcoming research program, and there we have proposed several research consortia, and they are Kraft Lignin, Flexible Biorefinery, where I will work, Biosludge and Wastewater, and Carbon Capture. So within this consortia, we have developed several hypotheses that are suggestions about research which could be worked on within the research program. So within the program, we work with pre-competitive research. So these are 2-year activities that typically are at a tier level of 1 to 3. And it could be about testing exploratory hypotheses. There could be feasibility studies. It could be enabling tools like development of new characterization methods or developing new models. But it could also be networking of the research area. For instance, networking activities. The application-oriented research has a shorter duration, and it typically starts at a tier level above 3, and they may include feasibility studies and also more meal trials or pilot trials. If you want to find out more about the research program, please have a look at this link or contact Fredrik Eldeus. And we should also stress that all the results are by default confidential within the research program. So what do we do? There are many RISE offices, and there are many of us working with biomass conversion in one way or another. So here I've listed some examples from our business that is related to biomass conversion and biorefinery. So we work with lignin separation, We do techno-economic evaluations. And here I would really like to stress that this is something that is very important and important to consider from the very start when doing development or upscaling, so that we take all considerations from the start. We also do process development and process simulation. We work with pyrolysis at the different sites at RISE, so we can pyrolyze the biomass to produce chemicals and fuels. We can co-refine bio-based and fossil raw materials. We can convert the biomass to energy carriers like hydrogen gas, biogas, or platform chemicals. We also have pilots and expertise about pretreatment of biomass to make it more accessible for further treatments. We can do thermal conversion. So we have one technique called hydrothermal liquefaction, where we transform biomass into a liquid state. We also do hydrothermal carbonization and have expertise in that. And then we start from fairly wet material and get a drier material in the end. We do hydrolysis of biomass, either via enzymatic or chemical routes. We can also ferment biomass, and we can transform biomass to biooils and then further upgrade them to other chemicals or fuels. So let's look into some of our business and some examples, starting with RISE Energy and Technology Center in Piteå. So the slurry hydrocracking pilot plant is a test bed which was established in 2017. Slurry hydrocracking is a refinery process, so it is typically used to upgrade the vacuum residue, that is the crude oil with the highest boiling point. And then the feedstock, it is mixed with a catalyst and then heated and pressurized under a flow of hydrogen. However, this technology can also be used to upgrade bio-based oils together with fossil oils. So the oxygen in the bio-oil, it will be reacted to hydrogen so that water is formed. And what's special about this pilot is that it can operate continuously, and it can do this at an industrially relevant scale. Slurry hydrocracking of bio-oils in a complex refinery is a collaboration project that was run by Chalmers, who did catalyst development, by Preem, who contributed with refinery expertise, and RISE, who did the continuous mode upgrading in this slurry hydrocracking pilot plant, and this was all funded by the Energy Agency. And they recently published their results in Energy and Fuels, and they showed that it is possible to do successful upgrading of pyrolysis oil with heavy fossil feedstock. They saw that diesel range products were formed and not that much coke was formed. If you want to find out more about this, please contact Linda Sandström. This is a thermochemical pretreatment pilot, which consists of a 40-liter reactor and an expansion tank. Various types of biomass can be treated in this reactor with high pressure and direct steam. The biomass is then opened and made more accessible for subsequent processes. So this one was used in a project called Mobile Flexible Industrial Processing of Biomass. This was an Horizon 2020 project led by VTT, and it aimed at developing and demonstrating mobile solutions for treatment of underexploited agro and forest biomass residues into products and intermediates. So for the project as a whole, 5 different technologies for mobile small-scale processing were identified. And these were pelletizing, it was hydrothermal pretreatment for saccharification, hydrothermal carbonization and torrefaction for fuel, and slow pyrolysis for biochar. And they were all demonstrated by industrial partners. So in this project, RISE participated and did life cycle analysis studies on pelletization, and they also led the evaluation of the business cases. We also participated in the pilot part of the work. So we did pretreatment of wheat straw so that we got liquid out which contained a lot of hemicellulose, and then we developed a protocol for how we can obtain a high sugar yield and a tolerable level of degradation products. And we also used an ultrafiltration unit here in order to separate out the hemicelluloses. So this is the big HTL, so the hydrothermal liquefaction pilot, which can be run in continuous mode. So this technology, it is based on high pressure and temperature and allows the conversion of biomass into a liquid. So we have run multiple HTL projects over the last couple of years. And one such example is AgroEnlog. It is another EU-funded project which RISE has participated in. It was a 4-year project, and the focus, it was about increasing the competitiveness among companies within the agricultural sector. So the idea was to investigate the feasibility for the agricultural industry to diversify their business via IBLC, so integrated biomass logistics centers. So in principle, it was about developing new value chains in rural areas. There were 3 main activities there. We worked with optimizing the supply chain, worked with optimizing production, and then did validation and evaluation, and based on that came up with a number of recommendations. So here the unit Agriculture and Food in Uppsala participated, but we also participated, and together we worked with Lantmännen looking at the straw value chain, and we produced bio-oils using the HTL pilot. So let's move further south and our lignin experts. So this is from the Diamondbeckham. The facility was established in 2006 by Inventia to demonstrate the lignoboost process, for which Valmet owns the IP. So at LignoCity, there is the technique for separation of lignin, as well as knowledge about how to valorize it via different processes. And it is a unique testbed with respect to its upscaling possibilities. LignoCity 2.0 is a 3-year project aiming at commercializing sustainable processes and products. So it is about accelerating business processes. So this is funded by the European Union Development Fund, Tillväxtverket, and Region Värmland, and it's led by RISE, but we also have the Paper Province, Nasham, and Karlstad University in this. An offer has been developed, and it contains 3 different packages that offer support to reach the goal as fast as possible at minimum cost. So the first package, it's called Go Aware, and it's about generating knowledge so that you have a more solid foundation to stand on to make legitimate decisions about potential next steps. The second one is called Go Product. So this could be seen as the step between lab and full scale. So it's about producing a first product at a minimum cost. And one possibility that is highlighted here is having the pilots at this demo site in order to make this step less dangerous. And then Go Scale is the third step, and it's or the third package, and it's about establishing a scalable production at minimum cost and risk. So all in all, we can see that it's about paving the way, and which one of these packages which will be offered to start with depends on at which level the business is. If you want to find out more about this, feel free to contact Per Tuomani or one of the project managers, Robert or Maria. Okay, so it's time to summarize. We have a lot of expertise within biomass conversion, and we work in many different ways, and we have several test beds available to use. So please work with us and with product and process or method development, and thereby using these test beds and pilots, it is possible to reduce risk, to have lower cost for development, and for instance, via decreased company investments, and potentially also shorten time for market. So let's continue working together.
Thank you very much, Anneli. That was also an interesting presentation. By that, we open up for questions. And as a matter of fact, we have a couple of questions already for Francois. There's one question here that, let me see if I can get. It's from Jakob, who actually is talking about upnumbering as something that you could compare to upscaling. And as I understand here from Jakob, is that it's often used when the geometry and heat transfer is important. For example, microfluidization and fiber length separation in many channels. So Francois, can you give your thoughts on upnumbering as opposed to upscaling?
The upnumbering is to perhaps have parallel line, or just to understand vacations in a good way.
Can you take that again?
Upnumbering, is it to have parallel line instead of higher productions? Or what do, just to understand the terms upnumbering?
Well, I'm not an expert in the field at all. If Jakob still is here, you can maybe give some more insight in this, because in the chat, he just says that...
parallelizations, okay, yes.
Right.
Yes, I would say that, yes, it could be an alternative if there is a specific issue to feed, but to have parallel line, it means also that you will need to have parallel feeding system on parallel, a lot of things need to be parallel. And you have, of course, the equipment part, but also all the layout on installations could be very expensive. So it's not something that need to be excluded, but I would guess it's something that needs to be used to solve specific problems, specific issues. And we have not seen the needs yet. But I guess that in some specific issue, when you need to have a very good mixing, or when it could be interesting. But upscaling could also means better process than compared to a small pilot scale also. It can have some advantage.
Okay, I hope Jakob is satisfied with that comment. We also have another comment from Hiroaki Tanaka that says that he's wondering about the production capacity of commercial plant, and when does it finish to build? Can you give some thoughts on that?
Yes, I would say standard production capacity in bioethanol is around 20-30 tons per hour. Where I think it's mainly linked to logistic of the raw material handling or collecting. We have some of the plants that are, on the wood side was 15 ton per hour, 360 ton per day in my reference list. On the full scale, we have ongoing delivery. So in the reference list, I have the startup year. So it's startup year from for our current delivery project are between these years on 2022, 2023. This.
But Francois, do you think that that's the maximum? Is that where it stops even in the future, or is it?
I would say it's there is different aspect here. I think in technical on all sides it's possible to have higher productions, but after, if you are using, for example, straw as a raw material, it's a very bulky material. So if you need to handle 16-17 tons per hour, it's quite a lot of truck going in the mill, and you need to collect them also. So it's the radius where you can find the raw material is important. But if you look in wood pretreatment for fiberboard, what are quite similar, its production go up to 650 ton, I would say, per hour. And often this is related also to the economy in raw material sourcing. So it's more sourcing questions, I would say, logistic and sourcing.
Thank you. Now we also have Tao as a participant here, saying that in Örebro University, they have a strong research team in artificial intelligence, sustainable business model, and other research fields. So I suppose that this is not a question, it's just an urge to you, Francois, to maybe contact them and see if they can, would be interesting as a collaborator.
We have people working with for industrial internet on all this area. So if they don't know it, I can forward this information to our team working in this area.
Okay.
This is interesting and important for the future.
Yeah, that's true. Now, as I'm the moderator, I feel free to pose questions myself. So, Francois, I was wondering, what is, I mean, you were presenting very different areas of application for this equipment, and I was wondering, what is the biggest challenge when it comes to implementing this technology in such different fields? Is it the know-how, or is it the technology, the machines, so to speak, or is it, what is it?
I would say there has been different sort of challenge. One big challenge has been the scaling up for feeding, but I think here we have a good readiness for it, so we don't see it as an issue. I think a big challenge is to build a project in a good way, because you have so much stakeholders that are involved in the project and are coming from different worlds, I would say. So this is very important. But Valmet has a very big in experience of being a project builder and to put people on the company together. So I think for us, we can handle it.
To put all the pieces together.
To put the people, or to operate, to execute a project together, because it's different company. Pulp and paper company, when Valmet is working with pulp and paper company, it's everybody knows each other. It's more or less a blind cooperation. You know exactly what you will do. You know exactly what you mean. Yeah. But if you are working in new area, then things can be, it's different standard, it's different way of working. So this also needs to be addressed quite easily. And it's a cultural and commercial aspect. But I think if you have a team that is dedicated and you have a sort of agility in your team, then it's possible to handle it. Okay. Another aspect is if you have small technical provider, then you need to find solution how they will handle the risk in their scope also. It's
Thank you
it's
very
risk
much.
handling. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good, valid point. So, Anneli, before we go over to, I hope not everybody leaves the room here, because I need your input on a little bit of a feedback, very short. But Anneli, I was wondering, at your last slide, you put up some questions on what rice can actually contribute within this area, and that was a whole lot of different things that you listed there. Could you say something about what's the biggest contribution from a research institute in this field, in your view?
In my view, I think that the biggest contribution is the fact that we are so broad, so we cover many different aspects, and we also have access to a very wide network.
Okay, so yep. So you're looking forward to this new research program?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. And I see no further questions in the chat room. So, Helena, would you put up our last little slides here? We would, if you could take out your smartphones, would be very good, because we are going to use some Mentimeters. I don't see the presentation yet. Elena, do you have it? I think there might be some technical challenges. There you go. Yes. So if you could take out your smartphones and check into menti.com and use that code that you see on the top there. Please do this for us, because we are always willing to improve our concept of these research breakfast seminars. So if we can get the first slide. Thank you very much, Elena. So if you could please just give us some thoughts on what you think about the overall impression of the seminar, and some views on the two presenters, Francois and Anneli. And I get a question here also: will the presentations be shared? And yes, we will contact everybody who has signed up for the seminar. Will be contacted, and you will get a link to RISE homepage where all the presentations will be possible to have a look at. So I can give my vote here. Very good presentations, well done. Well, thank you very much for that. Let's see if we can get some more. Do you have troubles getting into your smartphones? Yeah, thank you very much. We'll take the next one. We are very eager to understand how you got the information to the breakfast seminars, just to see what channels that we are going to be using in the future too. So, and the last question we have is, give us please your feedback, if you have some specific feedback or ideas for future topics, because we are trying to have about 4 or 5 breakfast seminars every year, and we try to diversify the topics, continue with such interesting topics. We like those comments. Thank you very much. We still have some people in the room. Lignin conversion. We will make a point of that. I got that in the chat room, that lignin conversion would be interesting, and I think that Anneli, that topic could actually be addressed also with your team, right?
Yes, it will, and also within the consortia for kraft lignin.
Yes.
So it's a hot topic.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Shall we? Are we satisfied with that, Helena? I give some insight in what the people are, because we would like to just finish off this breakfast seminar with saying that we are continuing as soon as the 24th of September. And on that breakfast seminar, we will address biobarriers, where the holy grail, which we think is the holy grail for sustainable packaging. So please come back to our breakfast seminar if you are interested, and you know where to find us. And thank you so much for your interest today. And thank you again, Francois and Anneli, for giving the presentation.
Thank you also for letting us talking, inviting us.
No, I think it's more in the chat.
Oh,
more in the chat room?
Yes, I don't know if you have take one. is a presentation will be shared, or if there is also talking about lignin conversion.
I think actually that I have answered all the questions. We'll make a point of the lignin conversion, because that's not, that's something that we didn't get on the Mentometer. Other than that, thank you so much. And thank you also, Maria, for being part of this. Okay, see you on the 24th.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.